coming up. Right, we've got loads to get through, so we're going to kick off right from the get-go tonight with our first award of May, and it's going to be for the Coach of the Month. Steph, who would you have?
Andy Last.
Andy Last?
Yeah.
You won't be surprised to know it ain't Andy Last. Right, okay, so our Coach of the Month.
You're not asking me?
No, well, do you want to go on? Do you want to have a go? Where are you going?
Adrian Lamb.
Adrian Lamb. And that's exactly who it is. It is Adrian Lamb. We've had Daryl Powell, we've had Matt P, and in the month of May, it is Adrian Lamb. Played 4 in the month of May, 1-all for 130 points scored the Leopards with only 34 conceded. Of course, I have actually put into those statistics the Challenge Cup, because that was the qualifier, because both Lamb and Steve McNamara have won all 3 Super League games in May. The Catalan Dragons, 106 points scored and 40 conceded. So the Challenge Cup game was the tiebreak. And of course, Lee went through. Steph, obviously your coach, phenomenal what Lamb's doing. How vitally important do you believe it is to maybe extend Lamb beyond 2024?
Oh, I think it's critical. I mean, if you look, every time Lee have gone into Super League previously, we've had an ex-player of Lee who's probably a local lad, and that's no detriment to them. You know, they've been some really good coaches, and they've got us into Super League in most instances as well. However, when you look at someone of Adrian Lamb's caliber, you know, you're talking the Australian international coach. You know, for when it comes to building the future as well, he's known in Australia to all the players. So I think, for me, I think Derek made 2 shrewd signings a couple of years ago in Chris Chester and Adrian Lamb. We wouldn't be where we are today without him. And I know when he left Wigan, they thought he was very defensive orientated. Whereas I think that's why we're in Super League and where we are at the moment, because of that defence. 34 points conceded in 4 games is just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's an absolute stellar month. And when you consider the quality of the opposition, obviously the wire at the weekend, and in that run of games in May, Castleford Tigers 30 points to 6, Huddersfield 30 points to 4, Warrington 30 points to 12, and of course Wakey again in the cup. But yeah, I mean they're great stats. Greg, you, I know, like I, very impressed with Lamb.
Yeah. Oh mate, he's got the pedigree, and he's starting to show that his coaching ability. You know, he's done a great job. Yeah. He's done a great job there. It's I mean, haven't they beaten all? They've beaten all the Yorkshire teams. They've beaten Saints. They've beaten us. Yeah. Phenomenal. Yeah, we predicted that they wouldn't finish bottom at the beginning. None of us thought that, but
everybody had them 11th, mate.
Phenomenal.
Everybody had them 11th or thereabouts, 11th or 10th. And it's fair to say everybody got this wrong. We were talking on Friday night about this. The concern I had going into the season was the likes of the hard day, because these people who've gone around the block a few times, were they going to pull it out for the shirt? And they have. Yeah. Every single one of them have been professional. They're all playing really good rugby, and they're knitting together really well. In terms of Lamb, he's come out and said that he signed a 2-year contract. He's not going anywhere. He's loving rugby league once again. And he thinks it's brilliant for the fans, the supporters, and he also thinks it's fantastic for the sport what Lee are achieving, and I would completely echo everything he said on that.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, yeah, Lee are a traditional rugby league team. We need traditional rugby league teams in the top flight, as far as I'm concerned.
I think the key thing with him is his man management, because there's another rival YouTube program that I was listening to the other day of a very well-known agent in the sport, and he was speaking to, I think it was Robbie Mulhern and a few other players who said they've never been happier at a club. So and
it shows
when you're winning, that helps and stuff like that. But I think that his man management is just unbelievable from what I've seen.
Yeah. And you could tell it shows. You could see with Robbie Mulhern, he's twice the player he was for us last season. You know, Gaz O'Brien,
absolutely,
as you know, has fulfilled his potential at Lee, and that's going on the players that you know we've had there. You know, Charlie speaks for himself, but you know, especially I saw him, Rob Mulhern, on Friday. He was your pack really shouldn't have stood up to our pack on paper the way it did.
I disagree, mate. I disagree.
No, but you can see,
look at hard meter makers. No, mate, hang on. You look at the hard meter makers this season, and with the exception of Vaughan, who's been in there, and let's be fair, that was off the first 5 rounds. You've got Mulhern, you've got Amon, you've got Asiata, and Kai O'Donnell is 6th.
Yeah,
their pack, pound for pound, in Super League this season is the best. Well, it's the best pack, bar none. based on numbers, on stats.
If you'd have let me finish, Dave.
Sorry, carry on. Just getting
I was going to say, when the season started,
absolutely,
nobody would have thought
that
the Lee pack would have stood up to, because everybody was talking about Warrington's pack being the one that was going to do this, that, and the other. And you know, and fair play. And the point I was making was when the season kicked off, that was not the way people thought Lee's pack was going to perform, and they have done. Because let's face it, some of the players were unless you're a Leaf fan, were little known to the rest of us.
Right, so we're going to have to move on at pace because, in the risk of being James Corden to Adele, I'm going to have to keep cutting you off here, boys, tonight because we've got so much to get through.
Can I be Adele, please?
But very, very quickly, Greg Roach, a great picture actually taken by Joel and Greg Roach, but they didn't put it on the site. He sent it to me on a message. But nice to see Greg Roach and Joel Scholes at the Huddersfield game enjoying each other's company this weekend just gone. But Greg's asked us which lamb is the most valuable to Lee. Greg, Adrian, or Lachlan?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good question. At the minute, I'd say on the way he's playing Lachlan Lamb.
Okay. Over to you, Steph. Who's the most critical, Adrian or Lachlan?
Adrian. Lachlan's been unbelievable. We talk about players who, under the radar kind of thing. I think he's come in and just been an absolute breath of fresh air in Super League. But I think all players are replaceable by somebody. Whether we'd have to go to Australia to find someone as good as him, probably. But Adrian's just the glue that holds everything together for me.
Fair enough.
I'll be judge, jury, and executioner. I'm going to go the side of Steph on this one. I think as long as Adrian Lamb's there, I think his son will stay there. So that's the critical bit in it. That's the critical bit. I think as long as Adrian's there, I think don't get me wrong, I think if a lucrative contract came the way of the NRL, his head would be turned, but I don't think he'd go to any other Super League club as long as his dad's at Leigh. These are the 6 nominees for May's Player of the Month. Arthur Morg of Catalan Dragons, Mark Sneed of Salford Red Devils, Ben Reynolds of Leigh, Alex Wormsley of St Helens, Lachlan Lamb of Leigh, and Jake Clifford of Hull FC. First of all, gentlemen, is anybody lucky to be in there, and is anybody unlucky not to be in there?
I think they've all been pretty decent players there. It's a pretty good list, I'd say that, in terms of performance at the moment.
Yeah. I think Cameron Smith might be a little bit unlucky again. We
exactly
like Cameron
what
Smith.
I thought. Exactly what I thought, mate. Yeah, spot on. Go on, mate.
It's all right. No, go on.
Yeah, I think Lachlan Lamb, Mark Sneed. I'm a bit lucky. I think of the Ben Reynolds and Lachlan Lamb, I think Reynolds has had a better May, so that would eliminate Lamb. You can't have 2 from the same team. For me, it makes a mockery of it. Which one in that team has played the best? And the one who, for me personally, has played the best is Ben Reynolds in the month of May. I don't think Sneed deserves to be in there. I'd have put Cam Smith in there, and I'd have put Matt Parcell of Hull KR in there. I think Parcell in May has been outstanding.
Yeah, I think Liam Farrell has had a good May as well. He has a slow start, but Liam Farrell's had a real good last 3 or 4 weeks in a Wigan shirt.
I think Marshall hadn't have been injured. He'd have been in it potentially as well because he had a brilliant game the other night.
Who's that, Seth?
Marshall.
Marshall, yeah. He was exceptional, mate. Exceptional. Alex Sharp is in on the chat. Jake Clifford for him. He also thinks Liam Sutcliffe has had a good May, and I completely agree with that as well. I think Sutcliffe has been in fine form. Now, the good news for us is we might know a little bit about rugby league because our winner at Super League Raw, which was decided long before this came out, because as you know, I put this show together well in advance of about 5 or 10 minutes before we go on air. We have already decided who ours was way before this list, and we have gone here in May. Super League Raw's Player of the Month is going to be Arthur Morg of the Catalan Dragons, who has been absolutely sensational at fullback throughout May for Catalan. 3 wins from 3, scored 2 try assists, 2 clean breaks, tackle bus galore. This lad is box office. It's great to see him getting a run of games. I personally am excited to see where this kid goes over the next 4 or 5 years. I think he's a real talent. So we've gone with Arthur Morg. That's where we are. I'd expect, Steph, you'll probably back Mr. Reynolds in the official one.
No, I think you're spot on there with Morg. To be honest with you,
Yeah,
what I've seen of him, and even at the start of the season when we played him in February, I thought he was outstanding against us. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing him again in June.
Yeah, we like him on this show, don't we?
We do.
For a guy of his size, the tackle bus is phenomenal. He's got some pace, and he's lived in Tompkins' shadow a bit for the last few years.
Yeah,
but he's signed a new contract, and I think he's a star now. He's going to be a superstar. I think. I really do think he's going to be a superstar.
Completely agree, mate. James Pike, good evening to you, sir, and welcome. He's saying Bevan French is carrying Wigan at the moment, take him out of their team, and they wouldn't be in the playoff place. I think they probably would be in the playoff places, but I agree. French at the moment is a real difference for the Wigan Warriors. There it is. So there it is, gents. So we'll quickly run through it. Arthur Morgan at fullback, the wings, Matty Ashton, Josh Charnley, centres, Ricky Latelli, Matt Ikavalu, Ben Reynolds. And since across all 3 games in Super League in May, his stats are right up there and very good indeed. Jake Clifford at scrum half. Wormsley, outstanding since coming back against Catalan. Parcell across the 3 rounds. And Moan, you can't budge him. He actually remains in. He was in the April team of the month as well. James Batchelor at Hull at KR. Brilliant May. Liam Farrell, brilliant May. And Cam Smith, brilliant May. Cam Smith, John Asiata, that's a close one. But again, Smith over the course of the 3 games, just slightly edging that one. Gentlemen, over to you. Happy with that one?
Yeah, as you say, Asiata, I think, these people who are going on about Morgan Knowles being the best loose forward in the comp don't watch much rugby league, in my opinion. If they think he's better than Smith and...
Well, he's got to play first. That's half.
Yeah, but if they think he's better than Cameron Smith and Asiati, then, they're not watching rugby league as far as I'm concerned.
And 4 of your lads in that team in the month, you must be happy with that, Steph?
Yeah, it's great to see. But, we are, if you do the results, I think if you did the last 10 fixtures going backwards now, Lee would be top of the league. So
he's being greedy now, isn't he? He's been totally greedy. Well, that's a great stat, mate. I like a stat, so I'll trust you implicitly.
I think what people don't understand, Davis, as well, is you are looking at all the stats of this. So where we have got our favourites of our own clubs. Obviously, we all think that, my personal opinion, I think Asiata's played slightly better than Smith, but I've only seen Smith on a couple of occasions when he's been on Sky. I've not seen all the stats that you look at. So I think it's very emotive, isn't it, when it's your own team and stuff.
Well,
you've got to look
it is, mate.
Picture.
It is, and what people don't see is that behind the scenes, you're spot on. Absolutely, there is nothing left to chance in the way this is put together. There's
I'll vouch for that.
Ian Judson in the chat here is saying Davy Litton. Well, Davy Litton hasn't played all the games in May, Ian. So how could he be in the team of the month? That's what, and it's about detail, absolute detail. We will stand by this team, and believe me, when the official one is published, that will be down to favouritism. This has got nothing to do with favouritism. This is about, and you've only got to see how few Warrington players come into these teams. We call it straight. Matty Ashton deserves to be in there. He has been outstanding in the month of May. He's got try-winning, Hull KR at home, Catalan in the cup. He's scored some big tries and has been consistent. But yeah, we're going to stand by that. He's still better than Morgan. It's not about whether he's better than Morgan or not, Ian. It's about who's played best in May. Anyway.